I bought a lakefront cottage on Vancouver Island. For the sunrise. The quiet. It was 3 years after Margaret. After 37 years at the pharmacy. Every overtime shift. Every postponed vacation. All of it went into 800 square feet of weathered cedar. Half an acre of waterfront property. I held the keys. My fingers steadier than I expected. Watching the October rain streak Jennifer's office window. This was my sanctuary. Hard won. Then my nephew called. Marcus. Uncle Thomas. I'm turning your place into an Airbnb, he said. His voice smooth. Practiced. You can stay in the back room when there aren't guests. Be grateful I'm including you. He spoke of times, my times cottage, as times his times project. Asterisk, his times gold mine. The casual entitlement took my breath away. A quiet alarm went off within me. I didn't argue. Not then. I just listened. But when he eventually showed up with his first paying customers, they found the surprise I'd been preparing for weeks. My peace had a price, and I was ready to pay it. I pulled into the gravel driveway that first day, cutting the engine. Just sitting. The cottage, 50 feet from the water. Surrounded by arbutus trees. A great blue heron, perfectly still in the shallows. No traffic. No sirens. No voices bleeding through walls. Just silence. It was everything I had earned. Inside? Empty but clean. A kitchenette. A wood stove. A bedroom barely for a queen. Windows facing the water. Fairies a distant white against the gray. Perfect. I moved in slowly. Methodically. My furniture finding its place. Books organized. Tools hung. Creating order from the chaos of grief and transition. My small world rebuilt with purpose. Within a week, a routine formed. Dawn. Coffee on the deck. Watching the sun climb over the inlet. The heron. Seals. Once, even a pod of orcas. This was the quiet I needed. The quiet Margaret and I had dreamed of. A life found. Finally, I called my sister Carol that evening. I'm here, I said. Finally moved in. Her voice was warm. Almost too warm. Thomas, I'm so happy for you. You've earned this. After everything with Margaret's illness, you deserve peace. The echo of her words was brief. Then, the shift. Marcus has been asking about your place. He's very interested in real estate now. Did I tell you? She laughed. A thin, nervous sound. He and Vanessa are quite ambitious. I think he might want to visit soon. See what you've done. A warning bell. Small, but insistent. I told her he was welcome, but to call first. That bell kept ringing quietly as darkness settled over the water. A subtle dissonance. I dismissed it. Marcus was family. Carol's only son. I told myself I was being paranoid. 2 weeks later, he called. Uncle Thomas. Finally got through to you. That sales voice again. A practiced charm that always grated. Mom said you're all settled in the new place. We exchanged pleasantries. Superficial words. Then it began. I've been looking at your property on Google Maps. That's prime waterfront you've got there. Do you know what the rental potential is on a place like that? My hand tightened on the phone. The language of exploitation had arrived at my doorstep. Airbnb, short-term vacation rentals. Your cottage could easily pull in 4. maybe $5,000 a month during peak season. More if we renovate a bit. I've been running the numbers, and the ROI is incredible. He was selling me times my own life asterisk, commodifying my sanctuary. Marcus, I bought this place to live in. It's not a rental property. My voice was calm, but firm. I understand that. But hear me out. You're sitting on a gold mine here. We could partner up. You and me. I'd handle all the management, booking, cleaning, everything. You just collect your share of the profits. And when it's not rented, you can stay here. Back bedroom would work fine for you. The audacity. My back bedroom. In my home. Think of it as an investment property that you also get to use. Best of both worlds. I'm offering to do all the work. Uncle Thomas. All you have to do is say yes. I cut him off. My patience gone. I'm saying no. Marcus, this is my home. Not a business opportunity. His tone cooled. A palpable shift. That's short-sighted. You're retired. You're alone out there. What if something happens? What if you need money for medical expenses? At least think about it. A subtle threat. Wrapped in manufactured concern. There's nothing to think about. I appreciate the call. But my answer is no. He hung up. No, goodbye. I stood there. Phone still in hand. Staring at the water. Envying the heron's simple, unburdened patience. Sleep didn't come easily that night. His phrase, back bedroom would work fine for you, echoed in the quiet, as if my cottage was already his, and I merely a guest in my own life. It was a complete erasure of my autonomy, a profound disrespect for the peace I had finally found. 3 days later, Carol called. Thomas. Marcus is really upset. He says you rejected his business proposal without even considering it. Her voice was a familiar blend of worry and mild accusation. Carol. He wanted to turn my cottage into an Airbnb and have me stay in the back room when it's not rented. How is that even a proposal? It's my home. He's just trying to help. You know how enthusiastic he gets about opportunities. Vanessa's been encouraging him to build a property portfolio. Her voice was a familiar shield for his relentless ambition. He can build it with properties he buys himself. Not mine. A pal's. A brief silence on the line. You've changed since you moved out there. You sound different. Harder. I heard it too. A new edge in my own voice. I sound like someone protecting what took me 37 years to earn. After we hung up, I pulled out a notepad. An old pharmacy habit. Document everything. Dates. Exact words. Precision prevents misunderstandings. Even with family. 2 quiet weeks passed. I settled back into my routine. The rhythm of morning coffee. Reading. Afternoon walks along the shore. Evening fires in the wood stove. I almost believed he'd accepted my refusal. That the storm had passed. Then, on a Tuesday morning in early November, a sedan pulled into my driveway. Marcus and Vanessa. Unannounced. Uncle Thomas. Marcus waved. His smile too wide. Too casual. We were in the area. Thought we'd stop by. Vanessa. Tall and polished in clothes too expensive for a casual visit. Surveyed the cottage with appraising eyes. Like an inspector. It's smaller than I expected from the listing photos. I put down my hammer slowly. The sound heavy against the sudden quiet. What listing photos? Oh, just the real estate photos from when you bought it. We've been studying the property. Marcus climbed the deck stairs. Uninvited. Already inside my personal space. Can we come in? We'd like to discuss something important. I considered saying no, shutting the door. But Carol would hear about it, and I'd be painted as the difficult one. The old recluse? 5 minutes. I have errands in town. Inside. They sat at my kitchen table like they were conducting a board meeting. Marcus pulled out his phone. Opened a spreadsheet. I've done comprehensive research since we last spoke. Uncle Thomas, your cottage. Properly marketed. Could generate $6,000 annually in gross rental income. After expenses, that's probably 35 to 40,000 inches profit. Split 50 gedeeld door 50 between us. You'd be making 17 to 20,000 passive income. He spoke of figures. Not home. I don't want passive income. I want to live in my home. My voice was quiet, but unyielding. Vanessa leaned forward. Her voice gentle, calculated. Thomas, may I be frank? You're 64 years old, living alone in a fairly isolated location. What's your 5-year plan? What if you need assisted living eventually? Properties like this. They lose value if they're not maintained and utilized properly. A chilling insinuation of my decline. My inevitable obsolescence. I'm maintaining it fine for now. Marcus quickly added. But realistically, how much longer can you manage this place by yourself? We're offering you a solution that benefits everyone. You get steady income. We handle all the work. The property gets professionally managed. My answer hasn't changed. This is not for rent. The finality hung in the air. Marcus's expression hardened. You're being selfish. Uncle Thomas, Mom said you'd be difficult about this. She's worried about you. We all are. You've isolated yourself out here. You're not thinking clearly about your future. And you're refusing help from family who care about you. His words were an attempt to gaslight me, to undermine my resolve by questioning my sanity. Vanessa stood. We should go. Marcus. He's not ready to see reason yet. At the door, Marcus turned back. Think carefully about this. Uncle Thomas, you might not get another offer this good. And if you change your mind later, the terms might be less favorable. Another veiled threat. A predatory promise. I watched their car disappear down the driveway. Then immediately called Carol. Did you tell Marcus I'd be difficult about his rental scheme, Thomas? I just said you were very attached to the cottage. He's worried about you being alone out there. We both are. I'm not alone. I'm solitary. There's a difference. Is there? Margaret's been gone 3 years. You've cut yourself off from everyone. Moved to the middle of nowhere. And now you're fighting with family who's trying to help. Her words stung because they contained a grain of truth. I had withdrawn after Margaret died. The pharmacy felt meaningless without her to come home to. But withdrawal wasn't the same as instability. Carol, I'm fine. I'm happy here. Please tell Marcus to stop pushing this. I'll talk to him. But you should consider compromising. Maybe let him rent it out just during the summer months. You could stay with me in Vancouver when there are guests. Goodbye. Carol. I hung up before she could continue. That evening, on my laptop, I researched property law in British Columbia. Rights of property owners. What constituted harassment. I took notes in my pharmacy-trained handwriting. Organized and cross-referenced. Precision. My defense began. 2 weeks later, I was in town buying supplies when I saw it. A poster in the window of a coffee shop, stunning waterfront cottage. Perfect getaway. The photo showed my deck, my view, my arbutus trees. A sick feeling twisted in my stomach. I went inside and asked the barista about it. Oh, someone's been putting those up around town. Paid me $20 to post it for a month. The poster had a website URL. I pulled out my phone and navigated to it. The site was professionally designed. Zonish Inlet Retreat. Book your dream vacation. Multiple photos of my cottage taken from different angles. Interior shots through the windows. A booking calendar. Rates $300 per night. 2-night minimum. My cottage. Listed for rent. Without my knowledge or permission. A profound violation. The contact information showed an email address, sonichinlatrentals@gmail.com. No phone number. I scrolled through the booking calendar. 3 reservations were already marked. 1 in 2 weeks. 2 in December. Rage built in my chest. Cold and hard. I drove home carefully, forcing myself not to speed despite the anger. At the cottage, I checked every window and door. No signs of forced entry. But Marcus had been inside. He could have taken photos then, or through the windows during other visits I hadn't known about. The invasion was complete. I called Jennifer. My real estate agent. I need a lawyer recommendation. Property law specialist. Is everything all right? Mr. Cartwright. Her voice held concern. Someone's trying to rent my cottage without my permission. That's illegal. Let me give you Richard Morrison's number. He's excellent with property disputes. Morrison's office was in Victoria. I drove in the next morning and met with him. Bringing my laptop with the rental website pulled up and printed screenshots for documentation. He reviewed everything carefully. His expression grim. This is fraud. Mr. Cartwright. Clear-cut. Your nephew is collecting money for rental of property he doesn't own or have authority to rent. We can pursue both civil and criminal charges. I wanted to understand all my options before deciding. What would criminal charges involve? A fraud investigation by the RCMP. If they find sufficient evidence, which they would. Your nephew could face criminal charges. Fraud over $5,000 is a serious indictable offense in Canada. And civil, we sue for damages. Get an injunction ordering him to cease operations immediately. Potentially pursue recovery of any money he's collected from fraudulent bookings. Less dramatic than criminal charges, but still effective. How quickly can we act? I can have a cease and desist letter drafted by tomorrow. The injunction filing would take a few days. Do it. All of it. And I want security cameras installed at my property. Now. I spent $800 on a security system that afternoon. 2 cameras covering the driveway and deck. 1 covering the back of the cottage. Motion activated. Cellular connection recording to cloud storage. The installer had them operational by evening. My home was becoming a fortress. Morrison's cease and desist letter went out the next day via registered mail to Marcus's address in Vancouver. It was comprehensive, threatening both civil and criminal action if the rental website wasn't taken down within 24 hours and all bookings refunded. Marcus called at 7 that evening. You had your lawyer send me legal threats over a misunderstanding. His voice seethed with outrage. Not regret. Misunderstanding. You listed my property for rent without permission. You're collecting money for something you have no right to offer. I was moving forward with the business plan we discussed. I thought you'd come around once you saw I was serious about this. The delusion was stunning. We didn't discuss anything. I refused your proposal multiple times. This is ridiculous. Uncle Thomas. I'm family. We should be working together, not fighting through lawyers. His plea for family felt like a manipulation. Take down the website. Refund anyone who paid you. If you don't, I'm filing criminal fraud charges with the RCMP. Tonight. You wouldn't do that to your own nephew. A challenge. Try me. He hung up. I checked the rental website. Still active. I called Morrison. He's refusing to comply. Move forward with everything. Understood. I'll file for the injunction tomorrow and contact the RCMP Fraud Division. The die was cast. That night, my security cameras caught Marcus arriving at 9:30 p.m. He walked around the cottage, trying doors and windows. All locked. He stood on the deck for several minutes, hands in his pockets, staring at the dark windows. His posture broadcast anger, a baffled fury. Then he left. I reviewed the footage the next morning over coffee, watching my nephew's face on the small screen. He looked angry, entitled, disbelieving that I was actually fighting back. He had underestimated my resolve, the quiet strength forged over decades of work and loss. The RCMP constable, Jennifer Shue, came to my cottage 3 days later, professional and thorough. I walked her through everything. The initial proposal, my refusals, the website, the bookings, the cease and desist letter that was ignored. Do you know if he's actually collected any money from these bookings? I can't prove it. But there are confirmed reservations on his website. The first one supposed to arrive tomorrow. As he attempted to enter the property without permission, I showed her the security footage of Marcus's late-night visit. Mr. Cartwright, I'll be frank with you. This is fraud. Your nephew is operating a rental business using property he doesn't own. That's a criminal offense. Her words were clear, unblinking. But I need to ask, is this something you want to pursue criminally? These cases can be complicated when family's involved. Her question hung in the air. A final chance to retreat. I want him stopped. Whatever it takes. She made notes in her notebook. I'll open an investigation. If he shows up with paying guests tomorrow, call me immediately. Don't confront him yourself. The next evening at 6 p.m., headlights came up my driveway. I recognized Marcus's car, followed by a second vehicle. A couple, probably in their 30s, eager for their dream vacation. I called Constable Shue. They're here. Don't answer the door. I'm 20 minutes away. I watched through the window as Marcus and the couple approached my deck. Marcus tried the door. Found it locked. Knocked. Uncle Thomas. It's Marcus. I have guests checking in. I stayed silent, phone in hand, recording the entire exchange. The knocking grew louder, more insistent. Uncle Thomas. Open up. These people paid good money for this reservation. The couple looked confused, uncomfortable, sensing the unraveling of their vacation. The woman said something to Marcus I couldn't hear. He responded, gesturing at the cottage, clearly making excuses. 15 minutes later, Constable Shue's cruiser pulled in. I opened the door as she approached. Mr. Cartwright. Stay inside. Please. I watched from the window as she spoke with Marcus and the couple. The couple looked shocked, then angry, Betrayed. They got in their car and left quickly. Their dream vacation dissolving into a scam. Marcus stood arguing with Constable Shu for several minutes. She handed him documents. He read them, his face contorting with rage and disbelief, even in the dim driveway lights. After his car left, tires spitting gravel, Constable Shu came to my door. I've informed him that he's under criminal investigation for fraud. He's been ordered to cease all rental operations, refund all payments, and have no contact with you except through lawyers. He violated the civil cease and desist, which strengthens your case. And those guests, they paid him $2,400 for a week-long stay. They're furious. Will there be charges? That's up to Crown Counsel. But I've documented everything tonight. The evidence is strong. After she left, I sat at my kitchen table in the quiet cottage. The wood stove crackled. A small comfort. Outside, the inlet was dark, peaceful. I'd protected my home, but the cost was becoming clear. My nephew was facing criminal investigation. Carol would never forgive me. The fragile family I had left was fracturing. I poured myself 2 fingers of scotch, something I rarely did, and went to the deck. The November air was cold, sharp, but I needed it. I thought about Margaret, about what she'd say if she were here. She'd been practical, fair. She'd probably tell me I was right to protect my property, but she'd grieve the family damage. 2. The price of integrity. My phone rang. Carol. I almost didn't answer. But avoiding her wouldn't help. You called the police on Marcus. You're having your own nephew investigated for fraud. Her voice was laced with betrayal. A raw accusation. Carol. He was running a rental scam using my property. He took money from people for bookings I never authorized. What did you expect me to do? Work it out as family? Not destroy his life with criminal charges. Her perspective was absolute, seeing only her son's ruin. He destroyed the situation himself. I refused his proposal multiple times. He ignored me, ignored my lawyer, and showed up with paying customers anyway. I had no other choice. A cold, hard truth, laid bare. He's my son, Thomas, my only child. You're willing to send him to jail over this. The plea was desperate, tinged with a mother's pain. I'm willing to protect what I worked 37 years to earn. If he goes to jail, it's because of choices he made, not mine. My voice was flat, devoid of emotion. You've become someone I don't recognize. Margaret would be ashamed of you. That one landed hard, exactly as she'd intended. A calculated blow aimed at my deepest vulnerability. Don't use my dead wife against me. I'm done. Don't call me. Don't contact Marcus. We're not your family anymore. She hung up. I sat on the cold deck for a long time after that. The scotch tasted like nothing. The heron wouldn't be hunting until morning. I was completely alone now in the solitude I'd sought, and it felt heavier than I'd expected. The next weeks moved slowly. Morrison kept me updated on the legal proceedings. The injunction was granted. Marcus was ordered to pay damages of $11,000 for the fraudulent bookings he'd collected. Crown Counsel was reviewing the criminal fraud file. I established new routines. Morning coffee. Reading. Afternoon maintenance, work on the cottage. I fixed the deck railing. Replaced weather stripping. Split and stacked firewood for winter. Physical work that tired my body and quieted my mind. a tangible way to assert control where I could. I didn't hear from Carol. I didn't expect to. In mid-December, Morrison called. The Crown has decided to proceed with fraud charges. Your nephew will be formally charged next week. Given the amounts involved and the clear evidence, he'll likely be offered a plea deal. Probably a conditional discharge, with restitution and probation if he has no prior record. What does that mean practically? He avoids jail if he behaves. He'll have a criminal record. But it can eventually be cleared if he completes probation successfully. He'll owe you the restitution on top of the civil damages. He'll never pay it all. Probably not all of it. No, but the legal consequences are real. He won't be able to do this to anyone else. Justice had a slow, grinding rhythm, but it was moving. After hanging up, I made dinner and ate it on the deck despite the December cold. The inlet was gray and choppy. Rain was coming. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Vanessa. Marcus is devastated. You've ruined his life. I hope you're proud of yourself. I deleted it without responding. Their narrative was not my truth. That night, I lay awake, thinking about Carol's words. Would Margaret be ashamed? I didn't think so. She'd been kind, but she'd also been strong. She'd stood up to her own family when they tried to borrow money we couldn't spare. Understood clear boundaries. But she'd also believed in repair, in redemption, in leaving a door open for connection. She would have wanted me to leave a door open. I sat up and wrote an email, not to Marcus, but to Carol. I'm sorry for how this has affected you. I understand you're angry. I love you. And when you're ready to talk, I'm here. But I won't apologize for protecting my home. Marcus made choices that had consequences. That's not my fault. The door is always open. If you want to visit the cottage and talk. Thomas. I sent it before I could overthink it, then went back to bed. A tiny seed of hope planted. Christmas came and went quietly. I made turkey for myself. Watched the heron hunt on Boxing Day morning. The inlet froze at the edges for the first time that winter in January. I was reading by the wood stove when I heard a car. The security camera showed Carol's sedan. I opened the door as she approached, walking slowly up the deck stairs. She looked older, tired, wordened. Can I come in? Of course. I made tea while she sat at the kitchen table. The same spot where Marcus had shown me his rental spreadsheet months ago. The irony was not lost on me. He took a plea deal, she said, her voice flat. Resigned. Conditional discharge. 2 years probation. Arshawu. 0 inches restitution and fines. A heavy sigh. I heard he and Vanessa are separating. The stress of this. The legal bills. The shame. She couldn't handle it. I sat down across from her. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you, though? This is what you wanted. Her eyes were accusing. No. Carol. I wanted to live peacefully in my cottage. I wanted Marcus to respect my decision. I didn't want any of this. I just wanted my home. She looked around the cottage, seeing it properly for the first time. Stripped of Marcus's opportunistic vision. The books on the shelves. Margaret's photograph on the mantel. The view through the windows to the water. It is beautiful here, she said quietly. A whisper of acknowledgement. Thank you. I don't know if I can forgive you. He's my son. I understand. But he was wrong. I've had 4 months to see that he was wrong, and I enabled him by making excuses. The admission was painful. A bitter truth finally faced. She wrapped her hands around the tea mug, as if for warmth. When did I raise someone who thought he could do that? Take what wasn't his? I don't know. We sat in silence for a while. The only sound, the crackle of the wood stove. Outside, the heron landed in the shallows. A familiar. Steady presence. That's my regular visitor, I said. Great blue heron. Comes almost every morning. Carol watched it through the window. A flicker of something peaceful in her eyes. Margaret would have loved this place. That's why I bought it. We talked about retiring somewhere quiet. Near water. I just wish she'd lived to see it. She would have handled this whole thing better than either of us. Probably with a quieter grace and firmer resolve. Carol finished her tea and stood. I should go. I just wanted to see it. See you. Make sure you were all right. I'm all right. At the door, she paused. Can I visit again? Not right away. But eventually, any time. Call first. Though, I like the solitude. She almost smiled. A brief, sad curve of her lips. That sounds like you. After she left, I returned to my chair by the wood stove. The heron was still hunting. Patient and focused. I picked up my book, but didn't read. Just sat watching the water. The bird. The winter light on the inlet. The cottage was quiet. Mine. Earned through 37 years of work and defended through months of conflict. The price had been high. Family relationships damaged. Maybe permanently. But sitting there in the peace I'd fought for, I couldn't regret the choice. The heron caught something. A small fish. It swallowed it in one smooth motion and resumed hunting. I finally opened my book. The Quiet Peace. A monument to defiance.